Good morning.
Yes, good Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So we receive a lot of questions in the channel and also phone calls from people that we know.
Yeah. And we see a lot of it on social media and on the internet about, is it?
Time to leave the US.
Yeah. When do you know it's time to punch out and leave the good old US of A?
So let's give you our opinion and talk a little bit of our experience.
Yep. Okay. So when is it a good time to leave? That's a good question. And a lot of people are talking about it. When should I leave?
Is it that you want to leave?
Yeah. Or can you leave? You know?
So, but sometimes you have that gut feeling.
Yeah. If you've got that voice in the back of your head going, man, I'm not really comfortable with what's going on right now. Do I need to leave the United States? You need to start thinking about that stuff. You need to start planning. So it's important that you understand that it's not as easy as it's said than done, right? Something you got to think about.
So you say, I'm inclining to leave. Then you need to start preparing, right? And if you have not started, you need to start taking steps right now.
Yeah.
And the first one is?
Well, the first one is, man, make sure you got a passport. I don't know if you've seen in the news, they laid off 1,300 State Department employees. I would imagine that possibly more is on the way. That means it could take longer to get a passport or renew a passport. So if you're even hearing the little sounds in the back of your head going, I don't know if I want to stay here or not, start getting your passport in order. Start getting your paperwork in order. Start saving money. I've never heard anybody say, I wish I had less money when I move abroad. You need as much money as you can to make that transition to moving to another country. So those are things you can start doing while you're thinking about it, right? While you're going, should I leave or not, right? So when that time comes, you're ready and you can go.
Exactly, because a passport is time consuming and it costs money.
Right.
So you have to think about that stuff.
And while you're doing that, low key, start doing your research. Where can I go? Where do I have a right to be there? The different visa types that you need. Remember, there's things that come in. They just don't open the door for everyone to come over to their country. It's not like, oh, you're an American, welcome, come in here. No, there's a process to everything and everywhere.
As a tourist, you can do that.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking about living full time, that's a different thing.
Yeah. And each country is different. So you just have to, weigh your options and the visa types and stuff like that. So the good news about research is today you can watch tons of YouTube videos and there's a lot of information on the web that you can find. You need to find out, one, like we talked about, the different ways, places you can live, but more importantly, can I afford to live there? A lot of people would love to live in the south of France, but it may not be feasible, depending on your situation. Also, you have to think about, along those lines, if you're not retired or have passive income coming in from some source, where can I work? What can I do? Now, ideally, if you work remotely, you're good. Yeah, it's not going to be a big issue for you. All right, so when you do your research, you need to think cost of living, right? And two, depending on whether you need a job or not. And it's not easy getting a job outside the United States, at least not here in Europe. So when we talk about research and a right to be there, the visa types for each country and what those income requirements are for you to be there. It might rule countries out from the get-go. You might think, oh, I can't afford that. Okay. Also, along those same lines, when it comes to income requirements, where's your money coming from? Taxes, the taxes situation and where you're going to move to. All that stuff comes into play. And again, if you think you can find a job in a foreign country, good luck. It's not as easy as you think. It's not impossible, but it's not easy.
Especially if you don't speak the language.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Now, another thing is, let's say you do remote work. Let's say your situation is not retired. You do remote work. Great. You grab your job and go someplace else, right? Well, there might be stipulations where you still have to get a work permit, because just because you're retired in a place and you have a retirement visa, it doesn't mean you're allowed to work.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
That's one thing.
Another thing is taxes.
Yes.
You have to start thinking about, okay, well, you're going to pay taxes in the United States and taxes in the country you live. Now, there's tax treaties and things, and we don't want to get off into that because it's really complicated.
We talk about it in a previous video.
But those are things you have to start thinking about if you're planning.
Also, what happens if you move to another country and you lose that remote job? Then what? Yeah. Are you depending full-time on that job? Because I'm going to tell you from personal experience, when we moved out of the US, I was adjuncting for two universities in Texas. And then that was cut off. And they wanted me to go and work
back on campus, back in person. So that and you have to think, and that's why we talk about a savings account. That savings account is also your emergency fund in case you have to get back to the States for whatever reason, okay? But again, these are all the things you have to think about if you're thinking about leaving the United States. Planning, never too much planning, okay? Now, yeah, you hear stories about someone who said, I moved to Thailand with $1,000 in my pocket.
It's possible.
It's possible, but you know, would I say that happens for everybody? No. So when you think about places to live and affordability, yeah, you know, think about regions like, yeah, is Asian cheaper than Europe? Yes. Is South America cheaper than Europe? Yes. Also proximity to your job. If you have an online job, what time of day are you going to be working? You know, are you going to be working at the dead of night, you know, time zone wise? So you have to think about all that stuff whenever you're planning on leaving the United States.
Yes, exactly. And you know, some people leave the US with a contract already to work in another country.
Yeah.
If you're an engineer, if you are in technology, things like that.
Right.
But just because having a degree, it doesn't mean you're going to get a job like that.
Yeah.
Because that degree, you have to get the equivalency or validate it in the country that you're going to. And I'm telling you right now,
it's a process.
It's a long process,
yeah.
Okay?
And again, even with a degree, there's people in the country you're going to that have degrees, speak the language, and they're having a hard time finding a job. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to walk in and say, I'm an American, hire me, you know?
Exactly.
That's not going to happen.
Exactly.
And also you have to think about the way people view Americans right now across the world. You know, where have we worn out our welcome? You know, are they going to treat me any different? You know, now with everything going on and tariffs and whatnot. So you really have to start thinking about that kind of stuff. So other things you have to think about too are like the logistics of living abroad. Am I going to take all my personal belongings with me? Am I going to sell everything and just travel with a couple suitcases? You know, am I going to put things in storage? All of that is possible. All of it comes with its own set of problems and price tags. If you think you're going to bring over your BMW from the United States and drive it in an Italian road or through the French Alps or whatever, I don't know, next to impossible. It's very difficult to import a car into other countries. Those are things you have to think about. Is it cheaper for me to sell all my stuff in the States and buy things over here? Yeah, you have to think about electronics and other things and how well they work here, you know, like your TV, whatnot. So, I mean, those are the things you just have to think about if you're planning or thinking about, should I leave the United States?
Yes. Logistics are difficult, but they're not impossible.
Yeah, not impossible.
It's all expectations. Now, if you are somebody that is living on a limited income, like Social Security.
Right, and that's all you've got coming in. You know, that could affect where you live. You have to think about also the dollar. With everything going on, the dollar's getting weaker. You know, it could affect whether we stay in Europe or not. You just never know. So you have to keep an eye on all that stuff.
And also, you have to think, okay, if you are leaving the United States expecting to, because you already visited, let's say you visited Italy, the south of France, Spain, whatever. When you visited as a tourist,
it's a lot different when you live there.
It's a lot different because, you know, your lifestyle in the US, even as somebody with a limited income, is still different.
Pretty good,
than the lifestyle in Europe, okay? And I say Europe as a general, but I'm talking about, you know,
the
Portugal,
world.
Spain, you know, talking about
right.
Living like a local, it does not mean living like an American.
Right.
Okay.
Now, can you live like an American overseas? Sure you can.
Yeah.
That comes with a price tag. It comes with a price tag. Yeah. So those are things you have to think about. Again, I keep saying it like a broken record, right? But when you're trying to think in your mind, should I leave the United States? It's not always as simple as you think it's going to be. We're not saying it's impossible, but these are some of the things you need to think about.
Yeah. Start making a pros and cons list and you know, start checking things off.
You don't have to tell anybody. You could just low-key do your research and start planning.
But like we said, you know, the ease of living comes with the price, right?
But if the price of staying in the United States becomes too unbearable for you, then yeah, maybe you should leave the United States. But again, that's a choice you're going to have to make. And with everybody with their own standards, their own issues, it's, you know, it's not an easy one. Yeah, I can tell you that.
So we wanted to address this because, again, we received questions about it, and we even received phone calls this week, this past week, about, you know, people that we know that are questioning Should we leave? When is a good time to leave? Should I start preparing? Things like that.
We wanted to address it. So we decided to go on a walk and talk about these topics. And we do our little orchard walks, if you will. These are the orchards that are around our area here in Belgium that we live. And we just like to walk through them and shoot these videos and just have little conversations with you. So I hope you like it.
So if you have any more questions, specific questions, let us know.
Yeah.
We would love to, address any questions, issues,
Yeah.
or...
And we know right now this is a hot topic. So
Yes.
again, if there's something you want us to talk about, let us know. We'd be more than happy to
And also,
give our 2 cents. Yeah.
we are now bashing the UN.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're not
okay?
bashing the United States.
Well, we know how hard it is right now for everybody, and it's not just in the US,
Everywhere.
but we just wanted to, address some of the doubts.
Yeah, and I guess the big question, should you leave? When should you leave? Again, it's not always the easiest decision to make, and everyone's on their own time schedule, but we just thought it'd be important for you to think about some things. So if that decision, it has to be made, you're ready to do it, okay?
So let us know if you have any more questions, and thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.
See ya.